All right, so it's nearly 2 past, so I will kick us off with just welcome to everyone. Thanks for joining. For anyone that is attending this call for the first time or is new to the call, we hold this industry-wide call every month, really for any company that wants to participate in the cultivated meat value chain. And the purpose of these calls is to introduce and welcome new solutions providers into the industry, with the end goal of establishing new collaborations that can help accelerate R&D and commercialization. So if your group is interested in presenting on a future call, or perhaps you're working with a company that could benefit from participating in these calls, please feel free to put them in touch with me directly and I can get them added. So just a few housekeeping items today. First, congratulations to Aleph Farms. I don't know if anyone from that company is here on the call, but they were approved in Israel. So congrats to them. It's good for the whole field to see additional countries moving forward. Another announcement is that later this afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern, we are hosting our sort of monthly Science of Alt Protein seminar. And we're hosting Tim Searchinger from the World Resources Institute, who's going to be talking about the importance of land use and carbon opportunity costs for environmental impact calculations. So it should be a really interesting talk. This is a super important topic. I'll drop the registration link in case you want to register and get the recording in your email or attend. All right, so we have some special guests today from the Tufts University Cell Ag Industry Consortium. As you all hopefully know, Tufts has really emerged as a cell ag research powerhouse over the past few years. They're definitely one of the leading global institutions that have dedicated faculty and a growing number of students that are working on cultivated meat projects. And they also have this now really unique industry academic consortium that enables companies to plug into the Tufts ecosystem to sponsor tailored research projects that can be impactful not only for those companies that are members of the consortium, but also the field more broadly. And the structure of the consortium and the buy-in as well from the university, I think really makes this a valuable opportunity for companies to come together to help advance the field. And so GFI has been a member of the consortium since its inception. And as the current sort of vice chair for the consortium, I'm hoping that some of you will consider joining the consortium. So I'm pleased to welcome Matt McNulty, who's the Associate Director of the consortium, as well as former GFI Research Fellow, who's first going to introduce the consortium and talk a little bit about its structure. And then we'll turn it over to some of the folks that are leading some of the exciting projects going on within the consortium. So as always, feel free to drop the questions in the chat that you might have, and we'll be able to get to those at the end. So Matt, I will turn it over to you.
Great, Elliot. Thanks for the introduction. And that saves up some time for me to explain why, as an academic institute, we're here at this industry collaborative. So it's great to have this opportunity. We love engaging with industry, and we think it's really important to have these collaborations to advance a field that's in a position like cellular agriculture and cultivated meat is. Yeah, so I'll get started. So I'm here, as Elliot had mentioned, from the Center for Cellular Agriculture at Tufts, specifically going to be talking about our Industry Cell Ag Consortium here. And with me, I do have Damayanti, James, Amai, as well as Kyung Lee, who's the Dean of the School of Engineering here, who are all involved and will be conveying some of the nice research that we have currently ongoing as part of the consortium. So just to read our subtitle here, our focus is on building foundational science, transparency, and a talented workforce for cellular agriculture, and we'd love to partner with industry and government to make that happen. Before I dive into the consortium itself, a little bit more to elaborate on Elliot's introduction about what we've been doing here at Tufts Center for Cellular Agriculture. So at the Center for Cellular Agriculture, we affectionately call it TUCCA. At TUCCA, we have a vision to democratize scientific building blocks, build a pipeline of talent and expertise, and foster discourse and public trust. These are all our values, and we think this is something that academic institutes should strive for. And in terms of some numbers to help ground where we've been so far and where we've come from, in 2016, we received our first funding in Cell Ag from New Harvest, And from there, it's been great. It's been a lot of growth all the way up to now. We have 90 plus Tufts personnel involved, approaching from many different angles. I have a disclaimer that of these 90 or so, about 30 of them are undergrads. And I maybe when I say that, some of you are like thinking about your experiences with undergrad researchers. I do have to say that here at Tufts, we're very lucky that we've drawn such a mission-oriented and responsible set of undergrads. I have to also give a shout out to GFI for their alt protein project, which has been a great call for the students to mobilize and organize and feel like they're a part of something larger. So we're really proud of our undergrads here, in addition to our graduate students, the postdocs, and faculty that we have that are really engaged. So far, efforts have also culminated in 28 publications and 26 patents filed. We also offer over a dozen different cell lines with different openness levels that we're able to distribute those, but we're really trying to make sure that the work that we're doing is being distributed. And now that I've gone over some numbers and our vision, how do we channel that into then our programmatic areas is what I want to talk about next. So we've got really 4 pillars that we channel our efforts into at the center. The first one is the Cell Ag Consortium. So I'm going to not talk about that much right now because that'll be the focus of the rest of this introduction, which I'll get into in just a sec. The next pillar is our flagship academic program. So here we started early. We have amongst the first Cell Ag Ph.D.s in the world. We have a graduate certificate in cellular agriculture, and we have the first and only undergraduate minor in this space as well. So we're really serious about our education, and in the consortium, we're going to talk about how we are expanding that as well to also cater for upskilling industry and how do we make sure that we're thinking about education holistically. Our third pillar is the USDA-funded National Institute for Cellular Agriculture. So within the center, within TUCCA, we house several different smaller institutes. Here, the USDA National Institute, NICA being one of them. This is led by Tufts in partnership with 7 different universities across the United States. It's government-funded, Center of Excellence in Cultivated Meat, and historic investment in the field, $10 million, first by USDA. Our fourth pillar is our commercialization lab. So we're not only partnering with industry in the consortium and through our research, but we're also looking at how we can take what we have and move that research to make it more amenable for uptake by industry in the field to help make those advances turn into real impact. And so here we're identifying promising proof of concept research. We're trying to de-risk and scale it up and partner with companies for these applications, either through licensing or spinning out our own companies. There's a lot going on there. And it's great that this is being headed up by 3 Tufts alumni. So on to the talk proper after the introduction to the center TUCCA. So we're going to start with the introduction, as I said, and then we have 2 research vignettes. Starting with the introduction, what is the Cell Ag Consortium at Tufts? It is a unique industry-academia partnership in this cell ag cultivated meat space. We're pretty new, so we're just in our 2nd year, starting in 2022. We're bringing together industry innovators and a world-class academic team to build foundational science, transparency, and a talented workforce. The way that we're doing that is really through 2 prongs, through sustained engagement in R&D and project partnerships and much more. The sustained engagement is really key here, and I think a part of what really drives the success that we've been seeing so far. With these 2 in-person meetings per year, we help facilitate conversations that might not always happen between industry and academia, industry and industry, academia and academia, and we're also now considering how we bring the government perspective into the fold here. So I also want to express my gratitude to Vox, where they recently gave us a shout out as a leader in this collaborative ethos in the United States, driving the collaboration in this space. In their article, Scaling Slaughter-Free Meat is Hard. Here's one way to make it easier. I think that they really hit the nail on the head here in the fact that in this space, we really need to come together to allow us all to move forward through coalition building, through collaborations, through many different vehicles. And We are all about that, and we really think about the unique value and perspective that academia provides there, and where our boundaries stop to be most effective. Anyways, so we've got this partnership, and this partnership is focused on pre-competitive research at Tufts. So what is the pre-competitive research? Just to go through the three buckets that we really focus on: fundamental technical challenges, the industry standards, and innovative approaches. But not only are we focused on research, but we're also focused on building a talent pipeline here through semester-based courses, career fairs, internships, externships, and we're actively working on a series of industry short courses that we've been getting a lot of interest from, and we're taking some effort to really make sure that we're building up the right resources that people need, particularly our consortium members. Just to elaborate on the two sides of the consortium here, and we're going to go into a little bit more depth on this in subsequent slides as well. So the two sides, we've got our research and development. So we have three research thrust areas, three technical areas that I'll elaborate on in a second. You can see them on the slide here, though. And as we're going through the research and development cycle, what's really important is that we have our priorities that are driven by industry. There's an iterative approach of the proposal and research project design that goes back and forth between academia and industry to make sure that we're bringing in the innovation from academia, but it's also being grounded in the real technical challenges that industry is having to face and overcome to make it to market, to continue to amass the economic impact of this field. There's then a series of different ways in which we're collaborating through this, and we'll get into that a little bit more. And on the other side of things, workforce development, where we really have our reporting, our education, our recruitment. I've already talked a little bit about our focus areas here. So getting into the research thrusts, as I had said, so we've got first our cellular fundamentals, looking at cellular isolations from different species or different areas and such, and their capabilities to generate the right kind of fat or muscle cells and so forth. We're looking at the metabolism of those cells, trying to understand that metabolism and understanding how that can be exploited as well for future benefit, and also looking at recombinant hosts here, so alternative hosts beyond the traditional livestocks. In our second thrust, nutrition, quality, and safety, we're looking at the TEAs, the LCAs. Really excited about the seminar later today, because I think that's such a huge question. How do you bring some of the how do you consider some of the value that's difficult to capture economically sometimes in an unbiased way? But we're also then looking at quality, so end product characteristics. We also have a strong consumer and stakeholder perspective, so looking at consumer preferences here in this thrust. In thrust 3, looking at inputs and scale-ups. We're looking at the raw materials that go into the process. Everyone knows that the price parity is a big issue here, and so we're looking at the inputs that are driving that, different ways to consider innovating there, looking at some of the fundamentals of scale up and waste and so forth. So these are our three areas, and we have a series of research capacities that are allowing us to drive forward research in these three areas. So just a quick highlight, at our Cummings School of Veterinary Medicine, we have a Tufts farm with 200 acres and 6 different species. We have an animal hospital and a lab space there. We then are bringing forth at the Friedman School of Nutrition Science and Policy, Nutrition Evaluation Lab and Clinical and Analytical Core Lab. And at the Medford site, the School of Arts and Sciences, as well as School of Engineering, we're bringing together tissue and cell culture facilities, material analysis facilities, GCMS, LCS, imaging, protein production facilities. So we're really able to come from these three different thrust areas with a whole suite of research capacities and infrastructure that Tufts has been building up for a long time now. Just to briefly elaborate on the workforce development side of things, we've really made sure that we're building a foundation for our students to thrive and become leaders in this space. And so we've currently been able to establish a lot that's going on at Tufts. You can see that in blue is the education at Tufts, in red are the resources and opportunity for industry. Each of these different resources and opportunities for industry are in different levels of maturity. We're currently working on all of them. As I mentioned, we're really excited about short courses for our member employees specifically, but then looking about how we extend that broader. We've seen a lot of appetite for that, and we're really excited about that as well. Similarly for Cell Ag career fairs, we're trying to make sure that we're facilitating the right kind of engagements, making sure that people are finding the right kind of talent that they need, and how that leads to internships, a robust pipeline there. And we have a great presence and interest from industry coming in to teach and have an exchange where they're really coming to the academic side of things. So we're still building up on all these areas, but we have a great start, and we're excited to be happy to talk more about any of them. So we've talked a little bit about, what the consortium is, what our focus is, but I now want to take the rest of this time to talk about who makes up the consortium. So first, it's Tufts researchers, which I'll elaborate in a second. But secondly, and very importantly, and I think what is most interesting to all of you on the call today, it's also an intimate network of industry leaders. So right now, we have 6 different organizations that are spanning cultivated meat companies, suppliers, and think tanks. GFI, of course, is an invaluable member here. I'm such a huge fan of everything that GFI is doing, and we're so happy to be invited to this call today. But you can see our current consortium members on the right-hand side, and below that, a picture of our center director, Dr. David Kaplan, in the bottom left corner, along with the rest of the industry board members at our year 2 kickoff this last September. In addition, so now we've had a little over a year with our intimate network to help really establish the foundations and chart our course out. And now we're looking with our focus in mind to expand membership. We are really interested in seeking partners that are very open to actively engaging to advance the field. That's key for us. And just to go over the benefits very briefly, members receive the annual fee, voting rights on research priorities, pre-publication data, royalty-free non-exclusive IP rights, enhanced access to the Cell Ag talent, training and educational opportunities, and these in-person meetings as well, we found have been a really valuable forum and resource for industry members. With that in mind, our next in-person meeting is coming up March 12th to 4th. So there is some value in joining the team before that meeting. But anyways, now that I put that on the table, I want to go and circle back to the Tufts researcher side of things. So we've got researchers with faculty in Cell Ag at Tufts spanning several different areas. We've got our nutrition, safety, and quality cluster of faculty, our chemical and biomedical engineering cluster of faculty that have engaged in Cell Ag, although I'd also add chemistry as a part of that. And then we have a workforce development cluster. In terms of what that faculty expertise actually breaks down as, here are just a couple bubbles that elaborate a little bit beyond those giant Venn diagram groupings. So you can see we've got some economics, some agriculture economics expertise, metabolic engineering, which we're going to have great representation from today, microfluidics, animal science, and so forth. And with that, I just want to talk about very briefly that our ongoing projects. We have 7 projects that are currently ongoing in our 3 different thrust areas. You can see in the top right, I have a little map of the 3 different thrust areas. And then between the 7 projects are little bubbles of how they break down. I've broken them down just by where I would say that they primary fit within a research thrust, but typically, we're seeing them span multiple research thrust areas. So the low-cost animal-free scaffolding, for example, really we're looking at end product characteristics as well within nutrition, quality, and safety. So highlighted in blue are the 2 talks that the 2 projects that we're going to be highlighting today. And with that, I wanted to close up and say that I'd be happy to take any questions. Any questions about consortium membership, research partnerships, educational opportunities, and the talents, the great students that we have. So with that, happy to take any questions for this first portion of the seminar, and then we're going to move on to the research vignette section.